What is going on, everyone? Greatest Hits here. I am back with another video. Today we got the entire fuel system together. There's one thing that I have to get for this fuel pump, and that is the fuel pump level sensor in the floater, which I sold already. I thought it was going to be provided for CHRIS1313 pump, which this is what that is. But apparently not, because I paid $900 for two 535 fuel pumps. That's over 1,600 wheel horsepower capable that this pump can run in. So that is more than enough. But here is the fuel pump here. I'm going to start off with the fuel pump because I showed you guys most of the fuel system, fuel lines and stuff for the Evil Energy. So here is the fuel system. Here. Looks real nice. You got two socks here. They call them socks or filters, whatever you want to call it. So it can filter dirt and debris and stuff when the pump sucks the fuel up. So Chris gives you instructions on how to install this via your email address and whatnot, and just go off of that, and it's pretty self-explanatory after that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up for you guys and show you. Alright, so here it is. CHRIS1313 dual Walboro, oh my gosh, Walbro install. Now this is Walbro 450 pumps, but he gave me two 535s instead because the 450s were not in stock yet. So there you go. But here it is. Now I'll kind of scroll down for you guys, and then you can pause the video if you want to see all of this information in a much slower rate. They give you a they give you a rivet, washers and whatnot, and then you just sit that on this plate right there. It's another access hole. So anyways, and I didn't get the hop switch. I'm not going to be making 1,600 wheel and one Walbor, I can't even say it, but one fuel pump will hold over a little over 900 to the wheel. So one of these are just going to be running, and then the second one is not going to be on ever until I end up getting a hop switch for it and the harness for it as well. So until then, I don't need it. So they give you sticker. They give you a sticker for it too. And here is the hardware as well. And this is the plug-in for the vent on this pump in the center. As far as the fuel tank is concerned, you need to remove the canister box that is inside the tank. So unfortunately, you have to take the rear end out and take the tank all the way down, remove it from the vehicle, take the box out, and then there's some kind of solenoid or whatever the heck it's called. I don't know. I don't care. Remove that as well. And you want to keep the overflow line that is sitting up in here somewhere. That way, if you overfill your tank, it can come out through that hose and drain on the bottom. Ask me how I know that. I mean, I know that most vehicles have overflow lines, but I went to the gas station. This was several years ago. I went to the gas station to fill this car up, and I let the pump run while I walked into the gas station and got something to eat and used the restroom, came back, and there was a big puddle of fuel on the ground underneath my car. So the pump didn't lock out like it usually does when you go to the gas station. Okay, also I got this ring here. I sold that too. I basically sold the entire car, basically, as far as engine, transmission, rear end, and all of that, so I can use that money for this build, which did help me a little bit, but not that much, honestly. I had to buy a daily, which was the Dodge Ram. So anyways, lock ring, and then here are the 8 AN feed and the 6 AN return. And then, of course, when you install this, put some WD-40 around it or something, and thread it all the way on there until it bottoms out so that there's no leaks. I've already put the wiring harness through the tank over on top. It's pretty self-explanatory. These are the harnesses to plug into the pump, and this harness here, they tell you to put this harness on the back of the nut or in front of the nut on the alternator, but this harness is not long enough, so they may want you to extend the wire, but I would have to find a certain gauge wire, you know, a particular size, because I can't just get anything, in order to extend further, and I don't know how many feet that I need. So what I'm going to do is put this on the positive end of the battery where the cable runs from the alternator to the battery, and I'm going to tie it in between that. So I mean, it's getting power, so yeah, it shouldn't matter. You have relays on the bottom, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But you also have, see if you can see that. Right there, you have 2 fuses. You actually have, let me see. I got to look at this. Yeah. 1 fuse per harness, so 2 in total. And then, yeah. I just kind of stuck them back there. They're not like jammed up in there. They're pretty loose. And I'm just going to leave it like that. It's not going to go anywhere. That ties into this harness here. You also have a ground harness like that to ground to the body of the car. And from there, it's, like I said, self-explanatory. Yeah. I think I showed you this already, but here is the fuel filter. I already got the fittings on. They're not tight yet, but I'm just trying to figure out which side I want them to be on, and if I need a 45 degree or a 90 degree, depending on like which position I have the filter at. I could use 2 fuel filters if I wanted to, but I think that's a little bit excessive. I already technically have one on the pump, and I have one here, so it should be fine. But anyhow, sit that there. There's my feed there and my return. And the first thing I'm gonna install now is the return line, and then we're gonna go from there. Here are the clamps here for the fuel lines, and I'm gonna use self-tappers to hold those together and hold the fuel line in place. Let's just go ahead and cut some of this. We're going to stretch it out first. I'm going to do that off camera. We're gonna cut off what we need, what we don't need, and then we're gonna go to the vise and get this installed. Okay, so here's the return line. I fed it from the front of the engine all the way back up here, and I'm gonna leave it like this because you guys have got to look at the front of the fuel line and how far out it is from the engine bay. You see this? It comes all the way out to here, and that is plenty. So I'm gonna go through this entire line and unkink everything before I cut. I may actually end up cutting it first because I gotta cut it to length and then go from there. But I'm gonna probably cut all the way to about to like right there, where the vacuum line is for the blow-off valve. Okay guys, we're at the vise right now. I already cut it to the length that I want, but it's not straight enough. It's imperative that when you cut this PTFE hose that it's straight as possible, so that when you go and put this right here, this little metal cylinder looking thing is called a ferrule. You want this side to be facing the front like that, and then the inner side of this ferrule here needs to slide in between the outer edge of the PTFE hose and then on top of this white plastic hose here, and it has to fit all the way in there flush into the bottom side of that groove, if y'all can see there. So that's what you have to do. And this tool here, I forgot what this is called, it just opens, it helps open up the line here so you can put the fittings into the line. So now I got this piece of the fitting on here. I got this on. Now all we got to do really is just press this in like that. I'm gonna take the tape off. We got the fitting on. Next thing you want to do is just thread this thing on like this as much as you can. And then we're going to take a wrench or something, like an adjustable wrench or whatever, and we're going to press the ferrule in as we're twisting the fitting on. So here's the other fitting here, the 90 degree. Already gotten it tightened up, and like I said before, when you slip it on there and you get the end of this fitting nut on, threaded on by hand, then you take an adjustable wrench or whatever and you tighten it down, and that presses that ferrule inward flush into the line here, so it gets a really good seal. I didn't take the fitting and put it in the vise correctly. I still had the hose in the vise. I should have had this part of the fitting in the vise when I was tightening this fitting down. So that's what you have to do. I went ahead and already put it back in the vise and tighten it up some more. That way the actual hose is not spinning as you're trying to tighten this fitting down. And yeah, so anyhow, there it is. And I may have to tighten that up a little bit more, but there it is. Alright, there we go. There's the line there. See, y'all can see sticking out through the tank. Okay guys, I have the self tapper in one of the holes on the bracket. Okay guys, so I got some of the fuel lines together. Here is fuel lines here. I'm going to show you this longer one first. Okay, so this side of the fuel line here is going to go, where is, it's going to go right there where the fuel filter is at. It's going to thread onto that, and then it's going to go underneath the car, of course. As you guys can see, there is the line, the return line, going all the way up to the fuel rail underneath the fuel regulator. I got it all mounted up and everything, drilled holes into it, and put self tappers on the underneath the floor. I made sure that there was no wires that were running along the floor on the driver's side underneath the seat, but it's gonna run from that filter all the way to towards the top there. Here is the Y fitting here that I was talking about earlier in the video. The bottom side is going to go to the other end of the fuel line that I showed you before, and then these two are going to go to each rail. And I'm going to have it sitting up on the driver's side where the transmission tunnel is at, and it's going to sit like this the way that you're seeing it right now, not like that, because that's just not going to work, because the way that the fitting is angled downward. So it's going to have to go up like this. Let me give you a better visual of what I'm talking about. So here is the line, the return line again, and this is how it's going to sit. It's going to sit it's gonna sit just like that. So like the back end of this is gonna stick out, and then that's gonna sit up like that. But you guys are going to see the finished product once I finish this up, and then I can get to getting the level sensor and the floater on, and then get that installed, and then see if the pump is priming once I have everything connected. So here is the line that goes from the top of the filter, fuel filter, all the way up on top of the tank. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to thread this on, because this is the only thing that I can actually install until I get everything else situated. And then the last thing is getting the Y fitting, the 2 threaded fittings that are like a V. I got to get the hoses and fittings made for that, and I got to get some more fittings that go from the rail to go on that, because it's the wrong fittings. You got an 8 AN on a 6 AN, and when I got this kit, that's what they gave me. They gave me all these fittings, but once I got down to the fuel rail and tried to connect to it, prior to making all these lines and mounting where I want the fittings at, it didn't work up there. So I don't want to confuse people. So if you understand what I'm saying, I need fittings for the fuel rail up front on the car. I need the 8 AN male and 8 AN male on the other side, and then that little nut in between it. Let me show you. This is what I'm talking about here. This is 6 AN by an 8 AN male threaded fitting. I need an 8 AN on this side. That way I can fit the rest of the 8 AN fittings onto the rail. So that's the dilemma right now. Hope y'all can see this, but again, here's the line. This side is going to go on the fuel filter side. So I got the really $40 factory fuel pump off of eBay, and let's open this thing up, make sure we have everything before we finally install the pump, and go from there. So what I did was cut off this plastic bracket here off of the factory pump. I may sell this for like $10–15 since it was $40 brand new. It still works, you just need to figure out how you're going to get that back on there. Anyways, cut it out. I put a nut and bolt over the bracket after I drilled a hole through it. See the nut there? And now that it's on the bracket, all I did was slid the level sensor and the floater on here, and now it sits on there perfectly. So Now it's ready to go in. Really just clean this up a little bit. Put the O-ring in there first. Let's put this O-ring on. Yeah. Now, what you do, you sit the socks in there first. And again, this is going to be really tight. I may have to sit this on here first because this is really tight, guys. Take this floater off for a second. When you have the pump seated all the way in there, this is how the seal is supposed to sit. Not on that groove there, way at the top there. There we go. And in there. And then what I did was I took the floater off so it'll be easier for me to install it when it's in the tank, and then install it that way. And there we go. It is in. Now I have to do the reverse process once I take this pump right back out. When I take it out, I need to take the floater off first and then take the pump out. I may have made a mistake. Hang on. Wait. Nope. Nope, I didn't. We're good. We're good. I thought I messed up here. But I didn't. Wait. I'm not going to plug anything in there yet. I had to flip the ring over the other way so it can be installed. I think next thing I'm going to do is put the O-rings on. The factory harness that I got taped up with red tape, and I had to rewire it because it was messy and whatnot. But this factory harness goes on to this harness here. I know y'all can't see too well, but right there where my thumb is at. I already showed you guys the instructions to it. Now we're gonna plug in these fuel lines here. Like that. I'm gonna bring that back. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I have to plug this back off again. Okay. Like I said, just tighten it snug and try not to break it. Definitely don't want to break it, because you will be sorry. You definitely will be sorry. Okay, I have 5 gallons of 93 in here. So I'm going to take my racing fuel jug that I bought from Summit Racing and pour this in the tank before I see if the pump primes, because that is very important. Also, you don't want to test the pump without fuel in it, because then you'll end up burning the pump and then you're out of $900 or whatever you spent for your pump. So do not do that, please. Oh, hang on. I have to move this out. See, look. There we are.
Took all the fun out of it.
I didn't record it, man. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Let's try that one more time. All right. Go ahead. All right. Stop. Woo! It works.
I quit. What you need?
All right. Okay, guys. So excited because we got fuel going to the lines. Soon to be the rails once I get the rest of the lines on, like I said. But I heard the fuel prime as soon as Shane turned the key to the on position. So yeah, we are freaking good to go because we're so freaking close. Yes. Anyways, roll to the next clip. Also, I checked for leaks. So far, we have no leaks. So, yeah. Alright guys, I got the fuel line and fittings on. This is the straight line that goes to the Y fitting. And then this is the 90-degree here fitting that will bolt onto the rail itself. I already got the fittings from Amazon. I installed those already. So this is pretty much ready to go. I also forgot to mention that before you put these lines on, take both sides of the line and tip it vertical both ways and just tap it on, like, you know, the table or the vise here so that the metal shavings and whatever that's in that line gets out, because you don't want that in your motor and it just wouldn't run right. It wouldn't necessarily destroy your motor, but if you have big, like 10 AN, 12 AN lines that you're cutting off to put fittings on, and you don't, you know, clean it out, then you might be in a world of hurt. But I'm done with this, so I'm gonna go on to the next line. I already measured it, and it's not as flat as I would like it to be, so I'm going to cut a little bit of it on the ends again, and then that'll be it. Speaking of, when you're cutting it too, make sure it's straight as possible. If you guys can see that, that's not straight. That's like a little curved on that side, and that would cause a leak. That is as straight as I can get it. Don't worry about the outside of this hose. You gotta worry about this little plastic piece in the middle. Now, just put it in the vise. Make sure it's good and tight so it doesn't move around. And I try and hold the braided fitting, I try and hold the braided line because it'll start twisting a little bit when you go and thread this fitting downward. Now, I know there's a tool off of Evil Energy's website, but this is all I got, and I don't feel like waiting 4 days to a week just for a tool to install this. So, thing over here. By the way, that was really easy. I had to really crank on it on the last few lines, but I did. Well, this one's turning out to be a bit hard. And that is why you need the proper tools to put these fittings on. But like I said, I'm not waiting 4 days to a week for a tool. I'm just gonna keep threading it in there until it bottoms out. But here you go. Alright, both lines done. There you go. This one's longer because it's going to go on the passenger side of the engine where the fuel rail is at. Let's go to the engine bay. Gonna hand tighten them for now until we get the transmission back up in here, but that's pretty much it. Okay, so that's it for this video. If y'all like this one, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll holler at you guys at the next video when we have the transmission in and I can get my drive shaft built, and then we're gonna be rolling. Now, some small things that I need to do to the car besides just those two things. Besides getting it tuned, I need to take my speed sensor pigtail and wire that up to the ABS on the hub on the front on the wheels. I need to hook that up to the ABS so I know how fast my car is going as far as miles per hour, how fast the wheel spins and stuff. And then what else? I gotta install the lines for the cooler, transmission cooler. And then I gotta wire that up. That is it. Greatest hits, out.